When you're purchasing information and communication technologies, or ICT, which is basically any IT software or hardware, you do have to fill out the ICT Procurement Approval Request prior to that purchase. Um, this is required for most IT purchases. However, there are some pre-approved categories that you do not need to fill out this form for. So on the accessibility website here, if you go to the ICT procurement and pre-approved ICT, you can see there are several categories here that list things that you do not need to fill this form out for. So please check this prior to submitting a form. However, you'll find that most software does require this form. We do advise you to get this in at least 30 days prior to requiring the software or device be in use, because there is quite a bit of back-end process that's required. So the earlier you get this purchase request in, the safer it will be to ensure that there are no delays for your IT procurement. If you look at the process, the requester submits the form here, but then we have a whole bunch of accessibility and information security and infrastructure tasks on the back end of the form. So please do get it in at least 30 days prior to the in-service date for the IT product. So to submit the request, you can access it a few ways. You can go to the services area here on the accessibility site and choose ICT procurement request, or you can log into the portal, click on Service Now, go to the service catalog, and you'll see that there is an accessibility area. Click on accessibility, and then we have the ICT procurement approval request here. So this form, again, is required when you purchase new or renew products. So if you're renewing your product every year, then this form has to be filled in every year. And the reason for that is there's no 100% accessible product. These ITC software products are very dynamic. They change. There's different versions. They're rarely 100% accessible, and most vendors are in some sort of varying compliance towards accessibility. So it's something that has to be reviewed at the annual renewal time. So we do have some fields here that we ask for your information, and we do ask for your ITC name. You can look that up, so the person that helps you with IT in your area. And if you'd like anybody else to receive these notifications or status updates on the procurement request, you can put it in here. We've just added a brand new feature recently, which is a big time saver. As you know, these do need to be submitted at each renewal period, so you're talking annually for some products. So if you have the RITM number that's assigned to the purchase, which you'll get in your approval email, you can use that RITM number to pre-fill the form with all of the information from your last request. So it will save you a lot of time at renewal. There are some required fields. I'm going to just highlight a few of them here. Planned method of payment. We have a few different areas here for you to choose from. Notice that there is a no-cost review required. If you're using a piece of technology that's more of an acquisition than a purchase, it still needs to go through information security and accessibility, even if it's free, because it will impact those areas on the campus. This is very important. Describe in detail the intended use for this technology. This is where our back-end reviewers can really understand how the technology is being used and how that impacts, the users, and how it affects the impact, whether it's high, medium, or low, in terms of who'll be using it, why. We do ask for the terms, is it renewal, then the life cycle. Do you plan to do it every year? Is it 5 years? You're not going to renew it, and an approximate date. We do have this ability to attach the PO, the quote, or the invoice for additional information that helps procurement when they're reviewing the form. And then the product use and impact. How are you going to use it? Where is it going to be stored? Is it required? Is it academic or for employment? And who are the anticipated users? How many of them are there? And is it used for research? Will this product be used to create digital content such as reports or PDF documents or newsletters, etc.? And if this is an embedded feature of a Cal State LA website, then we would want to know what Cal State LA website will use this technology. That's not the vendor website, that's the Cal State LA website. We have a repository of VPATs. VPATs are the documents that you'll get from your vendor that speak to the accessibility of their product. The voluntary product accessibility template is a standardized template document that your vendor should have. So you can ask the vendor for their latest VPAT. And once we have those VPATs, we do hold them on the repository. So you can check the ICT procurement VPAT repository, which will take you to this website. You can browse the ACR repository, and if you can search here for your product, and if it already exists, then you can indicate that it does exist in the repository and the number of the VPAT. You can also upload the VPAT if it doesn't exist there. Finally, we have information security questions. How you answer these questions, whether it will use an application account or My Cal State LA or some other way to access the resource, if it handles sensitive data, and if it requires integration. This will trigger some back-end processes for information security and infrastructure on the back end of the form. You can submit the request and it will tell you that it's in progress. And once the request has been successfully completed and all areas have done their required tasks, you will get a approval email via email that indicates that the request has been approved. And do note that it has the RITM number here, which is something that you'll want to save for the next renewal period to save you a bunch of time when you're entering that form. Along with the approval email, you will get some attachments, any attachments that were included along with the request, so you can use those when you send it along with your requisition paperwork to procurement. And that is the process for the ICT procurement approval request. Again, it is required at renewal times. You'll want to make sure that it's 30 days in advance of when you need the product renewed to ensure there are no delays. And do check our ICT procurement website for more information, and note that there are some pre-approved categories that do not require this form.